I tried to impress his colleagues by mocking him, but his reaction left me speechless. Hey Reddit, longtime lurker here, but this is my first time actually posting. I wish it were under better circumstances, but I fear I might have just ruined my life, my marriage, everything. I don't know what to do, and honestly, I need any advice I can get. I know I'll probably get bashed here for what I did, and maybe I deserve it. But if anyone's willing to give me something helpful, I'd appreciate it. My name is Evelyn, and I'm 34 years old. My husband's name is Ray, and he's 33. We've been married for about 7 years, and overall, things have been good, at least in the beginning. We were that couple everyone admired, you know? The kind that's inseparable and seems like they're always on the same wavelength. Ray and I used to be so close, so affectionate. He's the kind of man who goes above and beyond to make his partner feel loved, and I never had to question his feelings for me. He's always been the romantic one, surprising me with little gifts, planning elaborate date nights, leaving sweet notes around the house for me to find. I could never have asked for a better partner. Ray has this calm and thoughtful nature that has always balanced out my more spontaneous, and let's face it, sometimes impulsive personality. When I'd get too worked up about something, he was always the one who could calm me down, get me to see reason, and help me focus on the positive. It's one of the reasons I fell in love with him so deeply. I've always felt like we were a perfect match, and we've been through a lot together, moving cities, changes in jobs, family struggles. But no matter what, Ray was always there, steady and reliable. But like any marriage, we've had our ups and downs. The honeymoon phase was magical, but as time went on, we settled into a routine. At first, it was comforting, knowing I had someone I could count on no matter what. But lately, things have changed. We've changed. The closeness we once had seems harder to maintain, and it's like life has been slowly pulling us apart without either of us noticing until it was too late. I don't know when exactly it started, but the small, affectionate moments began to fade. Ray was still the sweet, romantic guy he'd always been, but it felt like the spark we used to have was dimming. I guess I became complacent. I assumed that we were solid, that even though things weren't as exciting as they used to be, we'd be fine. But the truth is, I've been feeling restless, not just with our relationship, but with life in general. And instead of addressing it or being honest about how I was feeling, I made a huge mistake. A mistake I can't take back. I'll explain everything, but I'm terrified that I might have done irreparable damage to our relationship. I don't know how to fix this. I don't even know if I can fix this. I feel like we never truly realize what we're doing until it's too late. We never understand how hurtful our habits are until we're forced to confront the damage. Looking back, I didn't realize just how cruel my words were or how much pain they caused Ray. I used to think I was just teasing him, making jokes like everyone does in a relationship. But now, after everything that's happened, I can see how I constantly mocked him, chipped away at his confidence without even noticing. It was always small things, things I thought were harmless, but they added up over time. I mocked him about everything: his forgetfulness, his driving skills, his hobbies, his appearance, even his cooking. Ray is the kind of person who gets really excited about learning new things, and whenever he'd try his hand at something like cooking dinner or picking up a new hobby, I'd find a way to turn it into a joke. I thought it was funny, but now I realize it probably made him feel inadequate, like nothing he did was good enough. I even mocked his work achievements, something I knew meant the world to him. He'd come home so proud after completing a project, and instead of celebrating with him, I'd throw out some sarcastic remark like, "Finally done, I thought you'd be working on that forever." It was just second nature to me. I also made fun of his plans for the future. Ray is a dreamer. He's always thinking ahead, imagining new goals for himself. But instead of supporting him, I'd say things like, "Are you sure you want to take on another project you won't finish?" Again, I thought I was being funny, but what I was really doing was telling him I didn't believe in him, that I didn't think he could succeed. I even mocked him for being sentimental. He'd bring up old memories, like the time we first met, or our wedding day, and I'd laugh and say, "Oh, you're such a softie. I don't even remember half the things you do." I didn't realize how much those moments mattered to him, or how hurtful it was for me to dismiss them like that. I guess deep down, I preyed on him because I knew he loved me, and he never complained. He'd smile, maybe roll his eyes, but he never said anything about how my words made him feel. So I kept doing it. I took advantage of his kindness, his patience, because it was easier to make jokes than to actually connect. I'd grown up in a house where men were expected to be strong and masculine, where showing emotion or being sensitive was a sign of weakness. My father was that typical man's man who always had to be in control, and I think I unconsciously carried that expectation into my relationship with Ray. I thought I was being playful, but in reality, I was belittling the man I loved, trying to make him fit into this outdated idea of what a man should be. Ray isn't like my father. He's sensitive, thoughtful, and romantic. But instead of appreciating those qualities, I mocked them. I mocked his sentimentality, his softness, his willingness to show emotion, all because I didn't understand how valuable those traits really are. I didn't see how lucky I was to have someone like him in my life. And it wasn't just in private. I mocked him everywhere. At family dinners, I'd make fun of him in front of everyone. I remember once when he was telling my family about this bookshelf he built, and I made a joke about how long it took him and how many times he had to go back to the store. Everyone laughed, but Ray's smile faded. I brushed it off, thinking it was no big deal, but now I realize how humiliating that must have been for him. I did the same thing at the gym. Ray's not a big guy. He's more of the intellectual type. And I'd make jokes when he struggled with heavier weights, saying things like, "Don't hurt yourself, Superman." It was all meant to be playful, but I can only imagine how small it made him feel. I even did it in front of his colleagues, way before this new job. There was a work event, and I made some joke about how Ray always overthinks things and takes forever to make decisions. Everyone laughed, and I didn't notice the hurt in his eyes. I had no idea how much pressure he already felt to prove himself at work, and here I was, undermining him in front of the very people he wanted to impress. I did it with our friends too. I can't count the number of times I made some cruel remark about his forgetfulness or teased him for losing his keys, thinking it was harmless. But those little jabs, those moments where I tried to get a laugh at his expense, they weren't harmless. They were hurtful, and I see that now. The worst part is, Ray never stood up for himself. He never called me out on my behavior or told me how much it hurt him. He just took it, probably because he loved me so much and didn't want to start a fight. And I took advantage of that. I let myself believe that because he never said anything, it was okay. But it wasn't. Now, looking back, I can see how I was slowly breaking him down, piece by piece, with my constant mockery, and I hate myself for it. I didn't fully grasp how bad things had gotten until the office incident. Ray had just started a new job, one he was really excited about. He'd been talking about it for weeks, telling me how much he liked the team and how the atmosphere was different from his last workplace. When a work party was planned, Ray decided to take me as his +1, thinking it would be a good idea for me to meet his new colleagues. He was so proud of this new opportunity, and I could tell he wanted to show me off as well. I was happy for him, but I guess I didn't realize just how important that night was for him. The party started off fine. Everyone was friendly, and I could see how much Ray fit in with the team. But then, as the drinks started flowing, I began to let loose a bit. I don't know why, but something about being in a social setting always brought out this ugly habit in me. I started making little comments about Ray. At first it was just playful teasing, or at least that's what I told myself. I thought I was being funny, charming even. But as the alcohol loosened my inhibitions, I didn't stop. I kept going, mocking him in front of his colleagues, pointing out all the things I usually joked about at home. His forgetfulness, his awkwardness in social settings, and even his enthusiasm for his new job. I could see Ray's face tighten as I kept talking, but I didn't let him lead me away or give him a chance to stop me. I thought I was just being playful, trying to be the life of the party. The problem was, I didn't know when to quit. I made one comment, though, that I realized now was incredibly hurtful. Something about how Ray tends to overanalyze everything, and how it took him weeks to decide on what shoes to wear to his first day of work, and he still ended up looking weird. The minute the words left my mouth, I felt the shift in the room. His colleagues, who had been politely laughing up to that point, suddenly looked uncomfortable. The laughter died down, and everyone exchanged awkward glances. Ray's face. Oh God, I'll never forget the look on his face. His expression changed in an instant. It immediately made my smile disappear. He had this cold, hard look that I had never seen before. His eyes were flat, emotionless, and his face turned frosty, almost like a stranger's. It was like I had crossed some invisible line, and suddenly the man I knew, the man I loved, was gone. For the rest of the night, Ray avoided me. He barely spoke to me, didn't stand next to me, and whenever I tried to approach him, he just turned away. I thought maybe he was just cooling off, that we'd talk about it later. But as the night wore on, I started to realize that this wasn't just a little fight or a moment of embarrassment. This was something different, something much bigger than anything I had anticipated. When it was finally time to go home, I looked around for Ray, ready to leave and hoping we could talk about what happened in the car. But I couldn't find him. I searched the entire venue, outside, inside, even in the restroom, but he was gone. Panic started to set in as I realized he had left me there, without a word. He didn't even tell me he was going. He just left me behind, at a party full of his new colleagues. I was mortified. I had to Uber home by myself, and that ride back felt like the longest journey of my life. I sat there in the back seat, my mind racing. I kept replaying the night in my head, going over every word I had said, every time I had laughed at Ray's expense. It was only then that I started to understand the gravity of what I had done. I had embarrassed him in front of the people he was trying to make a good impression on, the people he was going to see every day. I had mocked him, humiliated him, and I hadn't stopped even when I saw the look in his eyes. By the time I got home, I was filled with dread. The house was dark, and Ray wasn't there. He hadn't come home. I sat in our living room waiting, hoping he would walk through the door and we could talk, so that I could apologize, but there was no sign of him. That's when it really hit me. I had crossed a line, and I wasn't sure if I could ever go back. Ray finally came home the next morning, and when I heard the front door creak open, a rush of excitement surged through me. I was eager to see him, to apologize, to make things right, to fix things I had spent the entire night replaying our last moments together, rehearsing my apologies in my head. But the moment I laid eyes on him, my smile faded like a candle snuffed out by the wind. His expression was hard and unreadable. Gone was the warmth and affection I knew. Instead, he wore a mask of indifference. I felt a chill wash over me. As he moved through the house, getting ready for work, I tried to talk to him, but he barely acknowledged my presence. He seemed so focused and distant, it made me feel invisible. I had made breakfast, his favorite, but he didn't even glance at the food I had prepared. Instead, he grabbed his bag and slipped on his shoes, completely ignoring me. Just before leaving, he turned to me and delivered a blow that I wasn't prepared for. He said he wanted me out of the house, and my heart dropped. I was blindsided. I had never seen this coming. The words hit me like a physical blow, and I stood there speechless and in shock. He turned away and walked out the door, leaving me in stunned silence. I reached for my phone, desperately texting him, trying to explain how deeply sorry I was and how I never meant to hurt him. But each message was going unanswered, and that further amplified my anxiety. I decided I wasn't going to leave. I was sure I could convince him to forgive me if only he would talk to me. I stayed home, pacing the living room, rehearsing my apologies, waiting for Ray to return from work. When he finally walked through the door after a long day, my heart lifted momentarily. But that hope quickly faded when I saw his expression. He was not happy to see me. He reminded me that he had told me to leave, that he was done with being mocked and embarrassed by me. I needed him to listen, to understand my genuine remorse, and I pleaded with him to tell me why he was so upset. Despite all my efforts, he was still so angry. With each attempt I made to explain myself, it felt like we were speaking different languages, and I could see that he was shutting me out. After a long, painful back and forth, I finally realized that I was losing him. Eventually, he made it clear that he wanted me to pack my things and go. I could hardly believe it. I packed a bag. I felt this huge sense of defeat wash over me. I cried a lot. I wanted him to see how devastated I was, but he just ignored me. I headed to my friend's place and have been crashing here since. I really don't know what to do or how to fix this, Reddit. I feel completely lost. I keep replaying everything that happened over and over in my mind. Every mocking comment, every time I joked at Ray's expense. I never thought it was that big of a deal, but now I see how much it must have hurt him. Being at my friend's is a little comforting, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm away from Ray. I keep worrying about him, how he's feeling, what he's doing. Is he okay? Is he angry? Has he already moved on? The thought of losing him completely makes my stomach turn. I want to fix this. I want to apologize and show him how much he means to me, but I'm scared it might be too late. I know I have to change the way I treat him, but how can I convince him that I really want to? I never meant to hurt him, and now I feel like I've messed up everything. I've been talking to my friend about what happened, trying to get some advice, but nothing seems to help. Should I give Ray some space, or should I reach out again? What if he really means it when he says he wants me out of his life? The uncertainty is killing me. So Reddit, I'm asking for your advice. How do I talk to him after all this? How do I show him that I can change and that I truly care? I can't stand the thought of losing my husband over my thoughtless words, and I'm really desperate for help. Update. Hey Reddit, I was right, I guess. I knew I would get bashed on here for sharing my story, but I didn't expect it to blow up like this. The responses have been overwhelming, and I even got DMs asking for updates, so here I am, updating you all. First off, I'm still at my friend's place, but my time here is running out. It's not a permanent solution, and I can't keep imposing on her. It's hard to live out of a suitcase and feel like a guest in someone else's home. I've been trying to figure things out, but it's tough. The reality is, it seems like unless Ray comes to his senses, a divorce is in the works. I've reached out to him multiple times, hoping for a chance to talk things through, but he keeps shutting me down. He's made it clear that he's done with me and wants a divorce. Hearing those words is like a punch to the gut. I never thought we would be at this point. What hurts even more is that nobody seems to want to intervene. Neither my siblings nor his are stepping in. Even our parents are supporting him in this, which feels incredibly isolating. It's like I'm fighting this battle completely alone. Our mutual friends seem to be on his side too, which adds to the loneliness. I don't know how to navigate this when I feel like everyone is against me. Now, I'm left to try to piece my life together. I'm actively looking for a new place to stay, trying to make plans for what comes next. I'm hoping Ray will see sense and maybe reconsider, but honestly, I'm getting tired. I'm tired of waiting and worrying. I just want to fix things, but it feels like I'm chasing a ghost. And thank you to everyone who reached out with kind words and advice. It means a lot to know that some people understand. I just wish Ray could see my side too. I'll keep you all posted, but for now, I'm just trying to hold on and figure out what my next steps will be. Update. Hey Reddit, I wanted to give a bit of an update since I got served. It's been a couple of weeks, and I've honestly been so busy that I didn't update sooner. First off, I'm no longer staying with my friend. We had some issues and it just became too much for both of us, so I moved back in with my parents. Let me tell you, living with them has been annoying. They keep going on about what a good guy Ray is, like it's some kind of consolation prize for me. They support him wholeheartedly, and it's really frustrating to hear. I get that they want to be supportive, but it feels like a constant reminder of my mistakes and how I've let everyone down. I could really use some understanding right now, but it seems like everyone is on his side, and then, on top of everything, I got served. It was pretty self-explanatory, but seeing those papers hit me like a ton of bricks. I cried. A lot. I can't believe Ray is actually ending things between us just because of one stupid mistake. I mean, we've been together for 7 years. I thought we could work things out, talk it through, maybe even go to counseling or therapy. But it feels like he's chosen to throw it all away instead. I keep going back and forth in my head, trying to understand how we got here. Was I really that terrible? Did I hurt him so deeply that he can't see the possibility of forgiveness? I just want him to realize that we could fix this, that I could change. It's so painful to think that he doesn't see the value in our relationship anymore. So, yeah, I'm just feeling really lost right now. I know I messed up, but I didn't think it would cost me everything. I just wish things could be different. I'm trying to pick up the pieces, but it's hard when it feels like everything is crumbling around me. Thank you all for your support, however little they may be. It really helps to know I'm not alone in this, even if it feels like it sometimes. Update. Hey Reddit, it's me again. It's been a while, hasn't it? I've been really busy, which is why I couldn't update sooner, and then I accidentally got logged out of my account, so here we are. I do have a bit of an update though, something I should have shared months ago. First off, the divorce has been finalized. Yes, you read that right. Ray went ahead and threw us away. 7 years of marriage gone in 1 hour in the courtroom. It's surreal to think about. We didn't have any kids, so there was no child support nonsense to deal with. Thankfully, neither of us qualified for spousal support or alimony, and we didn't have any debts to split, so it was a pretty quick process. But still, it was painful. This was the person I thought I would spend the rest of my life with, and now it's all just over. I will never forgive him for this. I keep replaying the moments leading up to the divorce in my head, trying to figure out how we got here. How could he choose to end everything so easily? It feels like a betrayal, and I'm still struggling to wrap my head around it. I didn't think it would end this way, and the finality of it all hit me hard. As for me, I've been existing, suffering more like it. I don't have enough cash to move out and get my own place, so it's now hellish here with my parents. My brother and his family moved in, which has made things even tighter. I don't even have my own privacy anymore, and it feels suffocating. Every time I try to find a moment of peace, someone is always around. It's hard to focus on my own feelings when I'm surrounded by constant noise and chaos. I'm still struggling to save money, and that's what I'm focused on now. I'm working extra hours whenever I can, trying to put together enough for a deposit on a place of my own. I just want to get out of here and start rebuilding my life, but it feels like such a daunting task. I keep reminding myself that I need to be strong and keep moving forward, but some days it's harder than others. I feel myself slipping. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I miss Ray. I hate myself for ruining things.
Hello, guys. I am faced with a tough decision right now, and I don't know whether to follow my heart or follow my mind. My heart is saying something else, and it is something I have longed for, and my mind is telling me I am making a very big mistake. I left my husband for my high school crush. I didn't think it was a bad thing to do because I had always loved him, and I wanted to find happiness after a long time. My name is Beth, and I am a 28-year-old lady. I'm a real estate developer. I love what I do. It has been my passion for many years. The name of my husband is William, and he is 32 years old. Willem is an engineer, and we have been married for 4 years now. The relationship between me and William is not a normal one. Yes, we got married, but we didn't know each other, or let me say we weren't each other's first choice at that point. William and I got married because I had thought it was the right thing to do, because William was going to give me stability, and I need that in my life. But looking back now, it wasn't a good decision. I wasn't really in love with William. I was only in love with the idea that came with him. Indeed, we dated for a couple of months before marriage, but I wasn't really paying attention. But after marriage, I saw that William was not really who or what I had thought. He was very dominating, like he had to know everything about me, which I didn't sign up for. I thought he was going to be calm and collected, but he wasn't. He was always in my business, telling me what to do. It was getting too much for me, and I had to do something about it. I always thought maybe that was his own way of showing me love, but I did not understand. William and I, irrespective of our differences, we still found a way for us to be together in front of the world. We could go out for dinner and parties. I tried on different bases to connect with him, but it wasn't working because I had my heart somewhere else. I can say that I never really got over my high school crush because he meant everything to me. I had his pictures cut out in my room when I was still in school. People could say I was a stalker, but I didn't mind because I was in love. William and I never really agreed on many things, but the one thing we agreed on was our love for my father. My father was an exceptional man who saw William like a son he never had. They had a type of bond. I am so happy for them. Whenever William comes around, my father's face lights up like he had won a jackpot, and it hasn't been like that since I could remember. They got to catch up after a long time, and I appreciate William always trying to spend time with him. My mother was also a fan of William, which, by the way, she points out every time. We had dinner with my parents, and we talked about a lot of things. My parents kept talking about how I was as a baby to William, and I never really got the point. William was a different kind of person whenever he was with my family. He was always appearing relaxed, but in the outside world, he was this type of no-nonsense man. Dinner went well at my parents' place, and we left. Edit. The following morning, I woke up with a reminder ringing on my phone. I looked at it and saw it was the day of our anniversary. We have been married for 3 years now officially. I didn't know whether I should be happy or disappointed to find out that William left me a note saying I should dress appropriately for dinner that day. I decided to not let it spoil my mood, and I got ready for work. Throughout the day, I decided not to think about it, but deep in my heart, I wanted to receive at least a call from him, but I didn't get any. I got home to prepare for the dinner, and William came to pick me up a few moments later, so it turned out that the dinner wasn't even planned by him. It was his assistant. I knew she had her eyes on William right from the very beginning, because she could try to condemn me with every given opportunity. She would look at me in a certain way, which gave out jealousy. But I never gave her the satisfaction of getting to me. But today, I felt very foolish because my husband was seeking the help of his assistant for our anniversary dinner. The food was not to my liking because everything was badly put together, and I was allergic to almost everything on the plate. But I tried to explain to William, but he thought I was not being grateful. Our anniversary dinner ended up with us arguing about how he gave his assistant our anniversary to plan, instead of him to do it himself, or ask me for my help, and he knew we weren't on good terms. He saw it as me being jealous, and I left there because I didn't want to say something I could regret. I decided to pay Mel a visit because I knew she was capitalizing on the kind of relationship I had with William to drive us further apart. I confronted her, to which she denied innocently. I knew she was just trying to mess with me and get under my skin, but I didn't give her the satisfaction. I warned her to back off, or it was not going to end well for her. I went home and I saw William nursing a drink. I made him understand that it was not okay for him to let his assistant in our home. It wasn't okay for someone he had a romantic relationship with to plan our dinner. And he kept saying he wasn't involved with her, but I never believed him, because that was not the impression I was getting from his assistant. Because my mind kept telling me there was more. For the next couple of days, I didn't find William at home. I assumed that he had ghosted me the way he usually does after an argument. At that point, I didn't care, because I knew what he did was unacceptable. I called my best friend Brenda because I needed to speak to someone, and she was my go-to friend. Brenda and I have been best friends since we could walk, and we didn't hide anything from each other. I told her what happened between me and William, and she told me I should have handled it better. But I was angry as to why he could give an important thing, as our anniversary, to his assistant, who clearly did not like me. At the end of the day, I felt relieved. I was able to talk to her, and that's why I loved her. She took me out to dinner and we got to catch up after a long time. Brenda, between the two of us, got the very best in life. She married the love of her life. She had 3 beautiful children, and I sometimes envy her. It was a few weeks later, and things were back together between me and my husband, William. We were doing a lot of things in order for us to fix our relationship. We agreed to go to therapy because we were not heading to a good place. But after a lot of therapy, we discovered that we were both not putting in the work in our relationship, and we didn't respect each other. After the whole therapy, we got to know more about each other's feelings, and we started working on it. After a few months, we were making progress, and I was in my office one morning when I received a call from an unknown number. I was skeptical about receiving it because I don't like speaking with strangers, but when I answered the call, I heard a voice I haven't heard in almost 20 years. It was the voice of my high school crush, Jimmy. I was in a total shock, and I didn't know what to say. I was so happy that we started catching up right away. It felt like old times, and Jimmy had told me he got my number from a mutual friend, and that he was in the city, and he had liked to see me. I was happy. I was going to see him after a long time, and we set a date for us to see each other. My mood for the whole day changed after that phone call. I went home that day with every intention of telling my husband about the call I received. I told William about it, and he quickly shut it down, and I was taken aback. I actually told him how close I was to Jimmy, and he told me I was married, and I shouldn't be going to see my high school crush. I didn't listen to him because I thought we were working on our relationship, and he should have had a little faith in me that I wasn't going to do anything I was not supposed to. But either way, I made plans to see my high school crush anyway. I met up with Jimmy, and he had changed a lot. We talked about a lot of things, and at that moment, everything was perfect. I told Jimmy I was married, and he kept flirting with me like he always did back then in school. I suggested that since he was in town, we should see each other more often. I always loved his company back then, and even now. The following day, I told Brenda about Jimmy, and she was excited too, and I called Jimmy so we could meet up. Jimmy and Brenda had this kind of friendship. They were practically siblings back then, and we met up for drinks, and they talked and hugged. It was a very sweet moment. On my way home with Brenda, she had told me I should be careful with Jimmy because she saw the way he was flirting with me. I never really cared, because I also had a crush on Jimmy, but seeing as I was married then, she saw it as a problem. I saw her point, and I decided to limit my relationship with him. It wasn't going to be easy, but I was going to try. William still didn't know I was seeing my high school crush behind his back, and it went on for some time. Jimmy could ask me out to get drinks and catch up. I could accept every time because it was an outlet for me. He was someone that I knew for a long time. 2 months later, Jimmy asked me out officially on a date, and I turned him down. I was married, and I was trying to commit to my marriage, but in my mind I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone, because they could show me the reality of my actions all along, and I didn't want to face it. In my heart, I felt I hurt his feelings because for the next few weeks I never heard from Jimmy. It was as if he was angry I turned down his offer. I tried calling him, but to no avail. Months later, I received a call from him saying he had business to take care of, and he had been occupied ever since I didn't really believe him, but I decided to go with it. I was just happy I got my friend back, and we were going to be on speaking terms again. We talked about meeting each other at the end of the week. William and I at that point were in a good place thanks to our therapy, but I never really got over having Mel as his assistant. I could see her working late hours with my husband, and they were getting close. He kept telling me he had nothing to do with her except work. I didn't believe it because I had seen them in a bad position one time, but I decided to let it go. But I never spoke to him about it. If he could be that way with his assistant, I had every right to consider Jimmy's offer. If me accepting his offer of a date was going to keep him in my life, I will gladly consider it. I got to the restaurant when I saw Jimmy waving at me. I went to meet up with him and we hugged. He introduced me to a lady who he called his girlfriend. I was shocked because I thought he had no girlfriend, and that was the reason he was asking me out, but it turned out that they were not in a good place, and he thought he could move on with me. His girlfriend Ella was aware that me and Jimmy go way back, but I didn't understand why she was always looking at me in a certain way. She could always talk over me whenever I was trying to talk to Jimmy. I got to know that Ella did not like me, and I was not a fan of her either. She was all over Jimmy, and it felt like she was trying to mark her territory, and she could kiss Jimmy in front of me and make out. It was worse because Jimmy was actually encouraging her to do it. I was jealous because I had come there with the intention of telling Jimmy that we should try going out together. But since he introduced his girlfriend, I didn't know how to go about it. It went on for a while, and I didn't like it. Jimmy kept on inviting his girlfriend to our usual outings. I didn't see the need as to why he did that. There were days when Jimmy could flirt with me, and his girlfriend got the wind that we had something at some point since then. She had seen me as her enemy. I didn't really give her attention, but she kept throwing shades here and there. I was tired of her drama and thought it was time to get rid of her. I planned to get Jimmy alone in order for me to talk to him about us trying a relationship. I was feeling so left out because I had my chance, and I blew it. I was very jealous of the way Jimmy was with Ella, because I never got that with my husband William when we were dating, and even now we hardly see each other. And when we do, we don't see eye to eye. I got to Jimmy's house, and I saw that he was alone. We talked for some minutes, and I told him how I felt, and he asked me what changed my mind, and I had to explain to him what was really going on with my husband. I needed closure, and William was not giving it to me. Jimmy agreed for us to try it out, since we have always loved each other. I had to ask about Ella too, which he said she doesn't mean anything to that he had always wanted me. Unknown to us that Ella was listening to our conversation and she was going to use it against me. I got home and I felt at ease. I was gradually going to be happy again with the man I have loved forever. My crush on Jimmy goes beyond anyone can comprehend. I was genuinely happy, and I haven't been for a long time with William. It varies from one problem to another. He never listens to me, and he does whatever he wants. With Jimmy, I am heard, respected, and appreciated. I was getting ready for bed when William walked in. I felt like I hadn't seen him in days, so I decided to speak to him about where he had been for days. He ignored me like usual. After a few minutes, he told me that he kept seeing me with a guy he didn't know, and I quickly said that he was a client and we were working on something together. I knew he didn't believe me because I saw doubt in his face. He had his suspicions, but I didn't understand why, because he was literally doing the same thing with his assistant. William didn't know Jimmy and I. I'm happy because it's going to stay that way. I went on numerous dates with Jimmy. We kissed a few times and it was very beautiful. There were days we were joined by his girlfriend, and in those days we just talked casually with no touching because she was always all over him. We could discuss random things and we could talk about how we were in high school, and we could laugh. I could see that Ella was feeling left out because she could grow quiet anytime we start discussing. I didn't honestly care because I didn't want her there, but I had no choice. We were all having lunch one day in my favorite restaurant when I saw William walk in with his assistant. I tried to hide, but I failed miserably because he saw me and walked over to our table. We exchanged greetings and I told him I was having lunch with my friends. I didn't say who Jimmy was, and I was happy he didn't press further. I totally ignored Mel because I didn't care about her. William told me they were there to see a client, and they left. I felt like that was really close, and at that point, I didn't know that Mel was going to put some ideas in William's head. I got home, and he started asking me about the guy I was with. He kept saying he had been seeing me with him for weeks now, and he didn't want to say anything. I had to explain to him we had nothing going on except friendship and work. But he didn't believe me, and he kept shouting about how I wasn't loyal and whatnot. But I had to explain to him that he was literally accusing me of the same thing he was doing with his assistant. Like usual, he left mid-conversation, and I was so angry because he had always done that every time. The next day, I knew it was time to put an end to everything because I had suffered enough. I met up with Jimmy and told him it was time for him to tell me where we stood concerning our relationship. I told him we had to stop our hide and seek and start the real thing, to which he asked if I was ready to leave my husband, and I said yes, because I was very tired already. He told me he had loved me from the beginning when we were in high school, and he had waited to be reunited with me, but when I got married a couple of years back, he decided to let me be, but he said he took a chance, and that's why he came looking for me. I was happy he said that because for years I had longed for what we had, and now I want it again. I brought up the issue of his girlfriend, and he told me he had no girlfriend, and that it was his own way of making me jealous in order for me to realize my true feelings. I told him it worked because it contributed to opening my eyes to see what I had been missing.